Vile insults, brutal threats and even abuse of wives and children. That's what's been hurled at the Tassie basketball team from a growing number of online trolls. Their coach calling time, shining a light on a wider trend of vicious athlete abuse.
We have been attacked brutally through social media to the point where it's ugly, the threats.
Online trolls taking their toll with disturbing levels of abuse.
We have a player that's wife is pregnant and they wished for a miscarriage.
The NBL and Basketball Australia launching an investigation after a plea from the Tasmanian JackJumpers coach to end the vile attacks, which escalated after a string of losses.
We're just here to entertain, play as hard as we can. 28-year-old kids with families. Who cares? This is not life or death.
The club's CEO suspects the abuse could be fueled by gambling losses. The whole issue is part of a much wider problem.
There seems to be this social contract that we've agreed upon, that we live our lives vicariously through our athletes. And so when our team's not doing well, the abuse and the vitriol can come across. The important thing to recognise here is the athletes didn't sign up for this.
Such abuse is also rife in the soccer world. Just this year, a Real Madrid and Brazil forward broke down in tears over systematic racial attacks.
Eu só queria jogar futebol, só quero jogar, só quero...
Closer to home, half of our A-League players say they've experienced abuse online.
If you think back to many years ago, to be able to get a message to an athlete took a serious amount of effort. Now all it takes is firing up on X or some other form of social media and sending off a message, and there's a good chance they'll see it.
And things only get worse when it comes to female athletes. Data revealing 9 in 10 elite sportswomen have experienced gendered online attacks, 87% in the last year alone. In 2021, more than 20 Aussie sports organisations came together vowing to tackle the racist, sexist, homophobic abuse directed at their stars. But 3 years on, it seems not much has changed.
Many athletes are just as addicted to their phones as you and I are, and so it can be very debilitating, and the impact on families can be even far worse than that on the athletes.
So how do we keep our athletes safe from vicious trolls and their cutting words?
To go after people's mothers, fathers, kids, and do that in the brutal way this has transpired, it's beyond crossing the line.
Clint Steindl is the captain of the Tasmanian JackJumpers and he joins us now. Clint, we're really sorry to hear about this. How's your team holding up?
Yeah, we're holding up relatively well, considering, I guess, the types of messages some of my teammates have received over the last week or so. We try and foster an environment here where we're tight-knit. We certainly look after each other. But the group's holding up well, and we've had a tremendous amount of support from our front office and the club, not just for us as players, but also for our families.
Clint, I think everyone is always kind of shocked when they hear about abuse like this being targeted towards people. Are you able to kind of maybe give us an example of some of the worst abuse your teammates have experienced?
Yeah, like I said, I guess the types of messages that have come through and that my teammates have spoken up about to our club. I mean, anytime you're receiving, I guess, threats, or not just threats, but death threats regarding your well-being and livelihood based on sports performances, it's never a great feeling and quite confronting. Especially when they're not just directed at yourself, but also at your families, your wives, partners, and children. And when they become involved in this situation, it's definitely confronting, and it's part of the reason why I guess we're speaking about it now.
Righto, Clint. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
So good that they've spoken out about it, because I suspect it happens a lot to a whole lot of sporting teams. But once it goes toward your family, that's just completely unacceptable. But you're not going to stop it. How can you stop it? How much of it's related to gambling, though? I can't quite get my head around.
I think quite a lot. So I've heard athletes talking about this for at least 4 or 5 years, so going back to the COVID years. And even to me personally, they would say things like they get a lot of abuse because someone missed out on a multi. And because in multis you can, I mean, obviously I don't gamble, so I don't know much about the details, but you can bet on really specific things, this number of kicks in a match, this whatever. And so the NCAA, which is like the American sports organisation that looks after all the college sports, they've called for a ban on proposition betting. which is where you bet on just, it's not even the outcome of games.
Yeah,
it's
it'd be like
stupid
first goal
little
scorer or
things.
whatever.
I think
the sport
that's
is.
where our government, I mean, we're in the middle of a debate about sports betting.
Yeah.
And I think when they see that, they should focus on exactly what you're talking about.
And you could do something about that aspect
Spot
of it.
betting.
Yes.
It's cool.
But it's not going to affect... People are going to say abusive things online. We are in a world now where that is a lamentable but probably irreversible fact. But those bits and pieces you could possibly do something about, yeah.